About me, they'd just like hush up, or someone would say, shh, don't let them hear you, stuff like that. Getting really paranoid. They said, you're almost there, and they started to push and pull me in the direction that we'd been going. And so I tried to resist them. And the more I resisted, the more they fought, pushing and pulling. And then they were beginning to hurt me, so I was trying to hurt them back by punching them and kicking them, and they were mostly scratching and biting at first. There were a lot of them now. I have absolutely no idea. Maybe as few as some dozens, maybe as many as hundreds. But it was just a melee with me in the very center of it, and everyone trying to get in. I felt very strong, felt very powerful, and I'm doing everything in my power to resist them, which was completely futile because there's so many of them. I also noticed that anything I did to them had absolutely no effect on them whatsoever. And I also realized that they were feeding off my emotion, which was terror. And along with this verbally, they were trying to be as insulting and demeaning as possible. And they're quite good at it. They'd practiced a lot. So there was the verbal assault along with the physical assault. And thirdly, there was laughter. I was all, the word that I like to use is I was all spent. Emotionally, physically, I had nothing left. I was just, and people were tired of me because I was no longer of any use to them, of any fun to them. And they, people were coming up to me and very casually, like kicking me. And when people kicked me, I had no reaction. The reason why I had no reaction was being kicked anymore didn't increase my pain because the pain was so great that it didn't make any difference. And I heard myself in a voice that seemed to be coming from my chest, and it certainly was not coming from my throat or my lips, say, pray to God. And since I was, a self-declared atheist, I thought, I don't pray to God. I can't pray to God. Second time, pray to God. And I thought, I don't really know how to pray. I mean, even if I were going to pray, I couldn't pray. So, pretty pointless. And then a third time, I heard this voice that sounded like me emanating from what seemed to be my chest say, pray to God. And I started to say something like, the Lord is my shepherd, for purple mountains majesty and amber waves of grain. I pledge allegiance to the flag. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, God bless America, land that I love. And I realized, no, this is, I'm getting everything confused here. It's all mixed up, and, things that I had recited as a child. But somewhere along the line, I had muttered a few of these things, trying to remember them. And the people that were around me found it absolutely unbearable that I would mention God. They were using language which was unlike any use of the English language that I'd ever heard before. So obscene, so vindictive, so cruel. And it really made me happy because I knew that I could get back at them. For the first time, I was able to have some revenge on them. And I also knew that they were receding into the darkness. They could not bear the mention of God, so I'm trying to think of things that have God in it. And I'm shouting them and screaming them. And they're retreating and retreating into the darkness. And I'm shouting and screaming. I'm lying on the floor of this place, shouting, God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. Like crazy stuff, And all of a sudden I realized I can't hear anything except me. So I stop and I listen, and there's no sound up there. So I yelled out in the darkness, Jesus, please save me. And he appeared as a spot of light and very rapidly got very bright and very big and came over me in an impossibly white light. And he reached down and picked me up and lifted me up to him. And in his light, I saw myself for the first time, and I was gore. I was just all gore. Horrible, disgusting, unrecognizable, unrecognizable as a person. And when he touched me, all the gore and wounds, it was like they were made of fine dust, like flour or confectionery sugar. And it was like his light just blew all the gore away. Impossible to describe. Very frustrating, because if I could describe it in any way, it would be quite impressive to people, but it's completely ineffable. I knew that this was Jesus. I knew that he was very powerful. He picked me up as if I was nothing at all, as if I were a feather. I knew, I don't know how I knew this, but I knew he knew me more than I knew me. I knew that I didn't have any secrets. Everything I was and had done and thought, I knew. So I don't know how, but I just knew he knew it all. He knew everything about me. But most importantly, I knew that he loved me in a way that I had never even dreamt he could be loved. And after a while, we started to leave this place of darkness and torment and pain, and we went straight up. And I think we were moving pretty fast. Pretty hard to tell, but we were making a lot of progress quickly. And I could see far, far away the focal point of light that we were headed towards, and that everything around us moved in relationship to that focal point. In other words, everything was either moving towards that focal point or moving away from that focal point of light. And all of a sudden I knew that somewhere in that focal point of light was God, and we were going there. And I thought to myself, they've made a terrible mistake. I'm garbage. I don't belong here. And with that, we came to an immediate halt, and he spoke to me for the first time directly into my mind, having heard my thoughts, knowing all my thoughts. And he said, we don't make mistakes, you do belong here. And so we began to converse. Him knowing everything that I thought, and me hearing his voice in my mind, not going through my ears. Then he said that he had friends that he wanted me to meet. I was, sure. He made musical tones, musical sounds, and other people of light came to us and hung. We were all hanging in space, sort of halfway between the world of dark and the world of light. And we're hanging there, and they began to try and put me at ease. Fairly shortly, they made it clear that what they had come to do was to show me their record of my life. And what I came to understand was these people at different times in my life, sometimes singularly and sometimes in groups, had been with me. during my life, and they had recorded my life. So what they were showing me